I know he's blood, but you can't still turn him away. You don't owe him anything.
Do you go to the dungeon to find out how to make peace with your days in the dungeon? Writing a letter to you didn't make me
This is cause number DC 1366, State versus David Bruce Isaacson. Mr. Isaacson is here with his attorney Eric Moore, and the state is here with Ed Zink and Mary Leffers-Berry. So this is the time set for a change of plea. I believe there are some other procedural matters that need to be done. Am I correct, counsel?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zink.
Your Honor, at this time, the state respectfully moves for leave to file an amended information in the case of State of Montana versus David Bruce Isaacson, charging the defendant with the following crimes alleged to have been committed on or about December 25th, 2012. Count 1, mitigated deliberate homicide, a felony. Count 2, tampering with evidence, a felony. Please let the record reflect that the court has the original copy of the proposed amended information and affidavit in support. Mr. Moore has a copy of the proposed amended information and affidavit, and I am now serving the defendant personally with a copy of the information and affidavit in support.
All right. Leave to file is granted for the amended information.
Thank you, Your Honor. I can acknowledge receipt of the amended information and affidavit and motion for leave to file. At this time, Mr. Isaacson would waive a formal reading of these two charges in open court, waive any additional time to plead, and we will be pleading to both of those counts this morning.
Is there a written plea agreement or acknowledgement and waiver of rights?
Your Honor, there is, and I do believe I provided the court with the original in the file.
All right, it has been filed. So,
At this time, Mr. Isaacson would respectfully request leave of the court to withdraw his previous plea of not guilty and replace that with a plea of guilty.
okay, Mr. Isaacson, there is now an amended information that charges you with two different counts that are alleged to have been committed on December 25th, 2012 in Yellowstone County, Montana. How do you plead to count 1, mitigated deliberate homicide felony? And count 2, tampering with or fabricating physical evidence felony? Before I can accept those pleas, I need to ask you some questions. So as your attorney said, there is filed in the court file a document 3 pages long that's called an acknowledgement of waiver of rights and plea agreement. You're looking at a copy of that.
No, he's asking if we have a copy.
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay. So, do you read and understand the English language?
Yes, I do.
Have you read, do you understand, and do you agree with this document? Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you know that with the amended charges that are now before you, the maximum penalty for count 1, the mitigated deliberate homicide, is 40 years with a minimum of 2 years and a fine of $50,000. And do you know that the maximum penalty for count 2 with the tampering or fabricating charge is 10 years and $50,000? Do you know that those 2 penalties could run consecutively so that the maximum for the 2 charges is 50 years and $100,000? Knowing all of that, are you still willing to plead guilty to both charges? Do you also understand that if this matter went to trial, you could be convicted of one or both of those charges. You could be found not guilty of one or both of those charges. Or in the case of the mitigated homicide charge, you could make the argument and a jury could decide that you were guilty of what we call a lesser included offense that would be negligent homicide. And is that maximum 10 years?
20 years.
Okay, the maximum is 20 years in prison and a $50,000 fine. So do you understand with those possibilities? Well, first of all, do you understand that possibility of that negligent homicide charge? And knowing that, are you still willing to plead guilty to the mitigated deliberate homicide? Do you also understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up a wide variety of constitutional rights? Now, many of those rights are set forth at the bottom of page 1 and the top of page 2. But by pleading guilty, among the rights you're giving up are your right to a jury trial, and one is set next week. You're giving up your right to an attorney representing you at the trial and throughout the process. If there were a trial, you through your attorney could call your own witnesses, you could cross-examine the state's witnesses, you could remain silent, and you could demand that the state would have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And the state would have to convince every juror of your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Additionally, if you were found guilty, you could appeal to the Montana Supreme Court. But by pleading guilty, you're giving up all of those rights. Are you willing to give up all of those rights and plead guilty to both charges? There is a plea agreement in this matter, and let me explain what I understand the plea agreement is. It's called a modified 1B agreement, but is it your understanding that the recommendation from the state will be 40 years in prison, with 10 of those years suspended on count 1, and 10 years in prison on count 2, with the 2 charges running concurrently? Is it also your understanding that you and your attorney could argue for a lesser sentence? Is it also your understanding that if, after I receive the pre-sentence investigation report and I disagree with that sentence and feel that it should be higher, that I can tell you that, and you may withdraw your guilty plea? If I do not disagree with it, then the maximum I can give you is what is set forth in the plea agreement. Okay. And knowing all of that, is that what, are you in agreement with that and agree to comply with that? Are you at this time suffering from any disabilities, or are you under the influence of alcohol or drugs? Are you satisfied with the services of your attorney? And have you had enough time to think about this so that you want to plead guilty today? Before I can accept your 2 guilty pleas, I need to know what it is that you did.
May I assist, Your Honor?
Yes.
Gave an honor about December 25th of 2012. Did you purposely and knowingly shoot Sabah Mallak? Did you do so after he had abused your wife several times, including one incident where he broke into your house and cut her hair off with a butcher knife? That was done in front of your children approximately a week prior to this incident. Was it because of these and other acts by Mr. Mallak that put you in extreme emotional and mental stress for weeks prior to this incident? Months prior, yes. And is that the reason and explanation for your actions that evening? Amongst others.
Amongst others.
Also that evening after Danielle left your home to meet Mr. Mallak, did you go outside to check on her well-being? And at that time, did Mr. Mallak drive his car towards you?
Tried to tell me yes, he did.
When he did so, did you shoot actually hit him and caused his death?
Yes, I did.
Did you then return to your home and get in your truck?
Yes, go check on it.
And did you then take your truck and drive over some of the crime scene area with your truck to conceal your involvement with the event?
Yes, I did.
Did you also toss your gun over the hill by your house in an effort to hide its discovery?
Yes, I did, but I recovered the equipment.
And finally, did you wash your hands with alcohol to remove any gun residue from using the firearm?
Yes, I did.
Did all this occur in Yellowstone County, Montana?
Yes, I did.
So for the record, how do you plead to count one, mitigated deliberate homicide felony?
Guilty.
And count two, tampering with or fabricating physical evidence felony.
Guilty.
I will accept the guilty pleas. Is it anticipated that there will need to be a special setting?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
Okay, and, do we have an approximate time frame that you're looking at, counsel?
My understanding from the Department of Probation is they're about 60 days out in preparation of pre-sentence reports. So the state would ask for something in the realm of 2 months. For the record, Judge, I would hand the defendant and his counsel the pre-sentence investigation questionnaire and medical screening packet. The interview date has been set tentatively for, has been set for April 2nd, 2014 at 9 a.m.
Mr. Moore, anything to add or on that?
Your Honor, no, I would inform the court that I would anticipate a minimum of, probably 2 to 3, maybe 2 to 3 hours worth of, testimony, approximately.
Okay, well, Mr. Isaacson, that paperwork that was just handed to your counsel, fill that out completely, bring it with you to the probation and parole office at that specific time and date. That's April 2nd at 9 a.m. So cooperate with the probation and parole people so that a pre-sentence report can be made in a timely manner and we can meet the deadline for this sentencing hearing.
Your Honor, if you'd like to contact myself.
I can give you a couple of dates in mid-May, either May 9th or May 23rd. Any preference?
I would suggest the 23rd. I think it's more probable we'll have the PSR complete.
All right. Sentencing will be at 1:30 on Friday, May 23rd.
Is that the Friday before the long weekend? Could we do it another date? I'll be out of town.
About May 21st.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll switch that to Wednesday, May 21st at 1:30. Okay, is there anything more that needs to be done from either side?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right, we're in adjournment then.
I've seen